Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Anonymous, and in this channel, we talk about gang stalking, we talk about manipulation, we talk about how I have dealt with gang stalking. And in this video, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about the observations that I made when gangs during the before the actual initiation of gang stalking. So, before gang stalking officially started, before the initiation, I will make a video about the initiation. Even though I have mentioned that before, I haven't really titled it the initiation. But the initiation is the point where they do a grand show of gang stalking, where everyone around you is gang stalking you. They're doing the hand signals, and when everyone is pretty much doing the grinning, where they do the big event on the freeway, when they're harassing you on the freeway, when they do all the shenanigans in like a matter of hours, where they expect you to run away, where they pretend that they're talking to each other via like an earpiece. When all of these things happen, when they pretend to be recording you on your phone, if you run into the store, they're gonna be running circles around you, like on the aisles, like to make you feel paranoid. All of those things happen within a matter of hours to tell you that gang stalking is real. So that is the initiation. It's the big show. Now, before this, they prepare you. And how do you prepare a target? You try to get them to do a vice. You lower the self-esteem. At least that's what they did to me. Is that I was investigated. So I know that I was investigated. That because things happened before that. A lot of things happened that are atypical from me before gang stalking started. So in the beginning, now that I come back to it, I was made to believe like the things where I'm topping someone and they squeeze your butt, to cut off the circulation, that happened. I come back to it, and that actually happened. When guys were trying to lead me on to mess around, and they wouldn't be there, or they would just like stop talking, like, and then I would be looking on for to actually satisfy the urge that these guys have built, and consume more drugs. Like that was the initial the before the actual initiation of gang stalking. That actually happened. Like that happened. There's no doubt. Like I was being conditioned to be a target before I even knew what gang stalking even was. Now, additionally, I was being observed. There were times where there were like little tryouts or tests. For example, I remember the first time that I saw with my own eyes something with gang stalking was where I was give me 1 second where I was at the Palomar trolley station. I was smoking some drugs, and there was a white van right next to me, like 4 meters away. Now, I went back into work, and then that same white van had a person that was talking to all my coworkers. And when that happened, everyone's demeanor towards me changed. So that person was like investigated where I work. So this person was watching me for a while because this person knew who I was and knew where I worked. Now, and they took the time out of their day to actively go mess with me, even though I had never seen this person before. This person went and took time out of their day to know where I work and to tell the people who I worked with that I was a drug user, when this is none of their business. So then, that happened. Now, in the beginning, the first couple of tests to see if you can see And by seeing, I mean, so gang stalking is something that is done in public, but it is done in such a way that is pointed at you. So people are not typically paying attention if someone is behaving in a very particular manner to anyone else. So when you are in a public space and someone is, look, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So I was training a personal training client. And then, well, we were doing shoulder presses. I remember this like it was yesterday. And then I saw this bald, muscular guy. He was steroided out because his hair was falling out. And he was good looking, you know, he had a bunch of muscles. You can tell he used steroids. But this guy was like glaring at me while he was lifting weights. Almost like he was lifting weights in spite of me. And he was just like glaring at me, you know. Why? I have no idea. I have no idea who he was. And then I asked my client, do you see anything weird? And he's like, no, what's happening? I was like, you know what? And I told my client, look at that guy. Tell me if he's acting weird. If you see him, if you see what I'm seeing. So then we were, I kept training her, and she kept looking at him, and she noticed. She was like, yeah, he's acting really weird, like towards you. I was so that confirmed it, that she saw what I saw. But that also confirms that that behavior that is pointed at someone is incredibly hard to see, and it is only the person that is being pointed to can see it, and the only way that anyone else can see it is if you tell the other person to look for it. So if you're not looking for it, you are just not going to notice it. It is only obvious to you. Well, that happened. I saw it, you know, and she saw it too. Her name was Ana Rojas, and she was an amazing client of mine. But then later, this is aside, she was behaving like a gang stalker. I don't know what she was told, but honestly, like, I'm unsure if I actually saw it or if I was just like a mirage. Because I didn't understand a lot of the gang stalking, and I was connected when this happened. So I'm unsure if she actually was behaving as a gang stalker or if I was imagining it. Even though it happened more than once, so I think she later on at the end of it became a part of it. I'm sure of that, because she was behaving in ways that are congruent with gang stalkers later. Anyways, well, I might be wrong. That happened so long ago, and I'm not journaling about. I would never journal about that actually, but yeah, I'm 90% sure that someone told her something about me, and then she agreed to behave like that. That happened because a couple of my clients were also, you know, becoming part of the gang stalking operation at the very end. And that was at the very end when I wasn't able to disconnect, when I wasn't able to discern actual connection from disconnection. Well, anyways, so that's that. So random places, so at random places, strangers are going to do behaviors that are directed. So I feel that is the initial training to get gang stalked, where you notice. They're kind of testing to see if you notice it, you know, or they're making you notice the strange behavior. So then I remember the second time that something like that was happening was where I was at, where I was at the Walmart on Southern Boulevard in Imperial Beach. I was there. I was in the freezer section, and then everyone began doing the hand signals for like 10 minutes. Everyone was just behaving really weird in like a really glitchy manner, and boom, it stopped. That was the first time I experienced that. After that, you know, I remember that it was the time where like COVID was happening, So I remember that I was, I was getting a lot of hotel rooms and I was hooking up, and someone warned me. Someone warned me, hey, everyone is going to be doing sketchy things to you, so be careful. So someone warned me about that. So, but I didn't know what the fuck he meant. But I already knew that was happening, but he warned me. He was so hot too. But he lives far away. I'm going to send him a message to see how he's doing. But anyways, yeah, so he warned me, and yeah, so during that time is when everyone that I was like inviting over all of a sudden was a fucking gang stalker, so they were doing the thing where they pretend to steal your things, and where they like act like if they're gonna grab something from you, and they don't. They appear like if they're taking your poppers away, and they don't. They move your shit around. They try to undo a zipper. Everyone just begins behaving really begins to behave in a very sketchy manner. They began doing things to trip you out. So like I remember I'm gonna tell you a couple of the things that they do. So like the hand signals. Only people who are actual targets, who have been targets, are gonna understand exactly what I mean by the hand signals. If you don't know, again, I'm gonna cover it again because it is something that is really hard to understand. So it is something that is timed when it is a sudden movement of any limb or of any limb or any part of the body of the perpetrator that is done exactly timed at the exactly time or synchronized to the eyes of the target. So like, let's say if I'm here and I turn my head that way and there is a perpetrator that way, where exactly where I'm looking at, the perpetrator is going to do a sudden movement. That's simple. I know it sounds simple, but if you're in a room with 50 people and everyone is doing that, you're literally just going to be looking everywhere, and it causes you anxiety. It really does. It doesn't do that to me anymore because I've experienced that so many times that it's like I notice it, but I don't even acknowledge it. Like I've trained myself to feel nothing when that happened. And I built that resistance in like 3 years of being constantly gang stalked. It took a while for me to actually develop that. I also want to point out that while this happened, well, after this, when all of these things were going on, in the air, there was an abnormal amount of attention placed on me. Like, I didn't know what it was. I just didn't realize it, but it always began feeling an uneasiness. I began having a sensation as if everyone was looking at me. And I felt that everyone was looking at me because they were indeed observing what I was doing. I would have never known that it was a gang stalking thing. I had no idea. I didn't even know what gang stalking was. But what I do know is that is why I felt a sense of uneasiness. I felt uneasy because I was being watched. Everything that I was doing was getting observed. That probably happened because that is probably when everyone was told that I was sentenced, I feel. And they were just watching what I was doing. Like, I feel that my sentence was given then. That power, but I have it. I've worked for it, and let me tell you, it was worth every single second of effort, because now, like, literally, like, the last time that I went in a through a conditioning phase again, they got nothing out of it. Nothing. No conditioning, no success. They just did all the work and they got nothing. And let me tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than making a bunch of people work and have them get no results. Especially when whatever they're supposed to do is like supposed to be in spite of you. Whatever it is, there is nothing more satisfying than have them do all the work and look at them get nothing for it. Ugh, it fills my life with joy. It was glorious. Anyways, Well, that is the next thing. Now, now after that, that is when I began noticing. I began noticing that I was beginning to use a lot of drugs, but people were behaving. I didn't understand manipulation back then, but that was when I was getting a lot of messages on every type of hookup app, and I didn't know that this was a coordinated effort. It made no sense. I couldn't conceptualize that. So it was a coordinated effort to give me no sexual satisfaction and keep me using as many drugs as much drugs as many drugs as possible, as often as possible, and keep me awake for as long as possible to make me more vulnerable to the gang stalking. Now, this actually happened, but I didn't understand it. So notice that now, because I understand all the manipulation, I'm not even using any drugs. And guess what? My drugs are everything in my life is in order. But it wasn't. But it wasn't. It wasn't when I didn't understand manipulation. So that way I can tell you that even when I was sober, I was getting gang stalked into using drugs. So there is gang stalking. So even when I didn't know what gang stalking was, when gang stalking had not even began officially, I was getting gang stalked into becoming a drug addict, into losing my house, into losing my car, into losing everything. And let me tell you, I almost lost my car, dude. I would literally be on the streets. But my mom helped me out of it. My mom did. And I'm still paying her. It was like $4,000. But, thank God, I didn't lose my car, and I did everything, man, because it was so hard. Anyways. Well, so gang stalkers want you to lose everything. How? So they were making me a drug addict. They were making me a sex addict, and now online I was getting harassed. Everyone began calling me a whore, a this, and everyone online that has now been an active participant of gang stalking. But I didn't know that they were this. So I didn't know, but then I began getting these this perception of a whore being imposed on my persona, indirectly or directly, actually. Directly, you're a whore, blah blah, and it's like, and the thing is that it was a very calculated and premeditated manner to make me turn into that. It was incredibly premeditated. So now I'm getting gaslit into I'm gaslit and manipulated into believing that I'm this crack whore sexual addict, And let me tell you, there's people that I spoke with that that knew me back then. And then they were like throwing themselves at me. It's like, oh, don't you want to load? Do you want this? I'm sorry about the vocabulary. I'm gonna call them a spunk. So don't you want to get spunked? And and everyone was just like imposing this perception of me being an outrageous whore, an outrageous promiscuous person, and even my ex, who I was engaged to, Joseph Price, he literally freaking was also an active participant. Someone who I was about to get married to literally became a participant in gangstalking. And he was also, I heard that you became a slut. I heard that you became this, I heard you became that. And guess what? Then I showed him, I said, I'm living in this van because I rented a van on Turo. It was when I had lost my car. And when this happened, he did the gang stalker grin. He began doing the gang stalking hand signal. So someone that is supposed to marry you all of a sudden is participating in this. It's like, okay, so he was either told the wrong story, but I'm gonna tell you, he was always very manipulative. He was always very manipulative, and he was always trying to have the dominant narrative of my life. He would blame everything on mental health, but he was just a manipulative person. He was. I'm sure he still is, because that doesn't go away with time, you know. And he's the type of person that can convince. He's a salesman, and you know, he can convince you of anything, you know. And you know, I remember that he was selling me this car. He was literally like, because when you buy cars, you make a commission, right? When you sell a car. But he was literally going like this to hear the prospect that I was buying a new car. And then I chose a car, and when it was time for me to get it, he picked a more expensive one. But I'm fine with it, even though like I'm now barely finishing paying it. But I mean, whatever, it's fine. This car has been a blessing. So thank you, Joe. That was good. Anyways, but next thing I noticed is that everyone around me is manipulative. Everyone, every person, every ex that I have had has been a manipulative person. And I guess I in fact do have a phase that says, please manipulate me. I am very, very susceptible to manipulation, and I am so naive that I am not gonna even know it until many years later. And that apparently, that's not the case anymore. You know, now finally, after being manipulated all my life by everyone, I finally can see manipulation, you know, from a mile away. And you know, so now, and I think it's amazing that it happened now. Because now that means that I have control over my future. There is absolutely no outside force that exists in the world that can possibly stop me from doing what I want to do. Except death. That's the only thing that can stop me. Now, going back to the sketchy things. So before the grand initiation, before the big show, the first thing that happened was hookups, pretending to steal shit, pretending to grab my things, pretending they're holding something. But then this is what they would do. So let's say that I'm here, and you're like the target, right? And it's like, and I'm having a conversation. I'm just like, and let's say that you have like that. I'm just go. So let's say that this is like that, right? And then I just go, and then oh yeah, and you see it, but I just do that, you know, just out of the blue. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but you're like my best friend, and then I'm just like this, and then I just go, you know, but I mean, you're high, I'm your friend, gang stalker, and you know, and then that's it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, so you were saying? So that's what they will do. It's when there's nothing to grab. There was never nothing, but then I'm just like, all right. And you know, and when you are using drugs, that shit fucking trips you out, let me tell you. And then they do it like that. So let's say that I have it, that there's like something that you're like, you're there, and you just, I see that your eyes are here, like look right here, put your eyes right here, and then I just go, and then I just like hide it, like let me see, give me a second. So like I'm like this, right? So that's one thing. And then let's say that like we're like hooking up, right? So then let's pretend that this hand is like not my hand. And so this hand is not mine. Like that's the plan, right? Like this is like the gang stalker's hand. And so then let's say that I'm like that this person has like this hand here, right? And you know, we're watching porn, we're like, at least me, I'm like high off my ass, you know, and I'm like this, right? But then, I'm like trying to masturbate or whatever, and then I just go like this. Like if I'm trying to like reach for something, right? And then I'm like, and then as soon as I learn, as I look, the person just like stops. And then as soon as I like start looking away, it just goes like this, like if it's trying to reach for something. I know that just talking about it, it doesn't sound like anything too crazy, but that feels fucking weird, especially when the hand is like, let's say that you're like hugging, right? And the person that you're hugging just starts going like that, like reaching for something. Like if it's scary. It puts like a freaking Night of the Living Dead poster. When the hand is coming out of the grave, it puts that type of image in your head. That's one thing. The other thing is that, let's say that like I have like that. Let's say that this is like a table, right? That this is a table, right? And this is like a very expensive lighter that it costs $1,000, and I just have it there, right? So then let's say that it's right here. So then like the gang stalker would like go like this. Like when you're looking, they would just go like that. And let's say that like we're like talking, but then this thing is like right here, and then, well, better said in words, I make myself appear suspicious, as if I was trying to grab the lighter when you're not looking. I, however, will never grab the lighter, but I will pretend like I'm trying to steal the lighter away from you. Okay? So now, the thing with the hand, I am so sorry. I was having a lot of caffeine. I'm sure you saw me drinking my ghost drink. So I was like a little bit accelerated, and I had just gotten out of the gym. So I was carried away by how much I wanted to tell you the story. In regards to the second part about the whole grabbing, so imagine that I have my arm behind you, right? And that I'm like caressing you like sexually. So then if we're like that, right? But then we're like, when you're distracted, I just try to like grab something. And then you're gonna imagine a lot of things, like if I'm trying to reach for something of value, such as the lighter that costs $1,000, or like just stretching the hand. Like I'm never gonna forget that experience, because that experience was really weird. I remember who it was. I remember everything about that experience. I also remember that was a time when I had the little mark on my ass, on my butt cheek. And the gang stalker was literally like actively trying to make me remember that it was a thing that I was self-conscious about. So gang stalkers are trying to demoralize you by reminding you of the things that you feel self-conscious about. So he was saying, oh, I have like a scar right here, with no reason. But his reason was actually to remind me that I have a scar right there that I'm really self-conscious about. That I know for a fact. That is another manipulation tactic that I learned later. You're kind of noticing me, right? But then I'm me, the gang stalker. I'm just like, and I'm doing that, and sometimes having the evil grin. If you're high, of course it's gonna make you paranoid, right? So those were the first things that happened. And also the things, it's like, so that's that, right? And additionally, let's say that I invite you over to hook up. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go have sex. Yeah, let's have sex. But then it's your hotel room, right? And I'm the gang stalker, and we're gonna have sex or whatever. Or so then like we're like talking, and we're like talking. Oh yeah, so let's do that or whatever. And we get started, and then I'm like, oh, I need to use the restroom. I go to the restroom, and I stay there 40 minutes. And then in the meanwhile, it's like you're there like using more drugs, because there is everything to do. Just watch PORN and use drugs. So then I come out 40 minutes later, and now we're less that you have to enjoy your hotel room that you paid for. And then I'm like, oh, I need to have a smoke. And then I go have a smoke. We're still having a conversation. And I do everything possible to have you and me the gang stalker, I do everything possible to have you use as many drugs as possible and not get any satisfaction. That way, when you and I are done, you have to spend more money in a hotel. You also have not gotten satisfied, so you have to use more drugs, stay awake more, and you possibly have to get another night. That way, you know, you don't pay your bills and you're still chasing the satisfaction. That is the gang stalking before the official gang stalking starts. That is how I was made to be a continuous drug user. So now, because I understand that, I understand how all that manipulation goes, I don't use drugs anymore, because I understand now that I was manipulated into using. Now, so also, guys, you know, I like having sex with people who shoot up. That sounds awful, I know, but I have to tell you. And then I saw guys like shooting up, and then they would like pull out the blood, and then they would they were like, hey, can you hand me that? And as soon as I would look away, they would pull it out, and then they would just like pretend that they're feeling the rush or whatever when they're not. I don't think I ever played with anyone who actually did a shot, to be honest. I don't think I ever did. But let me tell you, all of those who did try to push me into it. So that just for me, that is not a possibility. That is not in the realm of possibility, because I will never ever do that. Just don't. Won't. I'm already having a hard time as it is with just smoking. So there's no way I'm gonna impose any type of stronger pleasure, especially when there's a bunch of people that are trying to abuse me, you know. Now, anyways, that is the gang stalking before gang stalking officially started. That's my entire experience with gang stalking before it started. Everything from zero, from D-Day. Well, guys, please share, subscribe. If you like my demonstrations of gang stalking tactics, please let me know. I have never done that before, and I feel like that would be a way of really helping you understand how this actually goes down. Like, subscribe. You know, the more information that is out there about this topic, the easier it's going to be for people to understand how some people are actually made to be crazy. And the more we understand, the more people who are targeted victims, who just happen to find out they're actually getting gang stalked, they understand all the manipulation that is going around them. And once they understand it, they can actually stop it before it gets worse. All right? Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Bye. Well, I think that is literally the crux of that entire operation, is to make sure that I get that everyone does sketchy things to make me waste my time, to make me upset, to confuse me, and to make me consume more drugs. So all of the behaviors are congruent throughout the entire operation. Nothing actually changed. It was only that I was slowly and gradually pushed further into it. And and like in the beginning, they were like it's interesting because in the beginning, well, at least I think there were voices, but I just didn't realize they never got that bad until I got into the shelter. Anyways, well, I'm sorry for the bad explanations of the sketching activities. I promise that as I get more experience in describing them, they will make more sense. I think that was actually the first time where I actually tried to give you a physical demonstration of those. But yeah, I would probably need like another participant. So whenever I have money, you know, to get someone to try to help me explain this to you. Until then, that is gonna have to be enough, or until I get at least more skilled at producing these videos. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Um, you enjoyed my explanation of the preparation of the target before the official initiation actually takes place, before gang stalking. Now, um, please like, subscribe, and just remember that the purpose of this channel is to literally make everyone know of the actual manipulation that goes inside this how do you say, this conspiracy theory that is literally significantly more doable, and it doesn't require any type of technology like everyone is meant to believe. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.